Okay, I want to show you the new FiveStar plugin that Ben has developed for Smallest Federated WIki, and you can actually see it right up here. I've given Pulp Fiction 5 stars, but I could give it 4 stars. I could give it 5. I could give it 1, right? And of course, what's happening behind the scenes here is that the JSON involved with this changes and gets sent back to the server. So if we, well, let's reload the page so we can see the change in the JSON. But if we look at the JSON, what we'll see is that the FiveStar plugin here has a value of 5. And this is accessible by anybody that wants to pull this JSON. You can actually make an HTTP call to this JSON. You can make an HTTP call to everybody that's ever rated Pulp Fiction. And you could average their scores and figure out what's the average score in my neighborhood for Pulp Fiction. And it shows how Federated WIki works, and part of what we mean when we say that it is a JSON canvas, right? So we can decide that we build these different these different pages with these different types of data in them, and these different types of data are associated with different data plugins that help display that data, right? But it's always accessible via the JSON if you want to get down to the actual values. It gets even more interesting when we decide that we're going to make a new page. If we make Room 237, is that the movie about The Shining? I hope so. So here's the create TV movie entry template, and I've added Ben's FiveStar plugin to that template. So now when we create it, we've essentially created this little mini interface. We're starting to get to the point where Smallest Federated WIki works like a lightweight, flexible application. And so Room 237 was good. Wasn't mind-blowing, but it's definitely a solid viewing, watching, solid. It's definitely a solid. You say a solid read for books. What do you say for films? Evening. So we rate it there. We go to Room 237. We get this. We get this link. We say something like a solid evening. And down here we're actually going to, down here we could actually drag on a video or something like that. If we were building, say, a wiki about cycling routes, right? We could actually have the stars up here rating your cycling route. Let's actually do that. I have this bike Caulfield PW 3000. And I'm starting to keep some notes. So MacArthur Boulevard is a road out here that's actually amazing to bike on. It has these bike lanes that you would die for, and wonderfully low trafficked road. So what we could do is we could do the same thing here. We could start to rate roads based on that. But we might also want to add a map of each one of these things. So you start to see how with these widgets that we can build, we start to build what look like mini applications, but they're free of that sort of rigidity that you get when you do a database application, right? So with a database application, however that back-end schema is designed, really constrains how you're going to use this. It makes it so that it's a product, right, that you're using, but it's not what we've called user innovation toolkits. This becomes a user innovation toolkit because we can create our own pieces, and we can pull them together into things that work in very application-like ways, but still allow us the freedom to continue to innovate and evolve how we do things. Let me just quickly show you what this looks like in the code. This is Ben's code, and if you go through it, you'll see this is really the bulk of what gets done in it. It's the client JS. It gets stored on the server and loaded when we hit the site. So anybody coming to this site and seeing the page is going to be able to see it. because the browser has loaded the JavaScript needed to display the plugin. If you look at it, Ben's drawing these through SVG here. But what's kind of neat about this to me is that you'll notice while there is some stuff that says, hey, don't forget to save when you do this, what's happening is that the JSON that he's working with on the front end to represent the state of these stars is also just what's saved to the back end. So it's as if you're dynamically modifying the state of your front-end interface and what the values are in that front-end interface. And rather than go through a separate step that says, okay, now how do we throw this in the back end into this fifth normal form database, with all these different keys and everything, you don't do that. You just say, look, oh, this is the state of the JSON at this point. Okay, put that on the back end so the next time we come, that state is preserved. And that's a pretty powerful way, I think, of looking at things. It makes the production of these, I'm not going to say easy because there is still an API you have to learn, right? There are still some quirks of the development interface, but you don't have to make that step to a database back end, which is always it's a weird thing, right? We pull things into a form that we use to display our interface and that our JavaScript can interface with, and then we pull that out of a database and turn it to JavaScript, and then we take that sort of JavaScript representation of what we're doing and then try to figure out how do we put that back in the database. This doesn't work like that. This actually, the values that you're using in your interface in real time are the values that get saved to the back end, and that's pretty neat. I guess that's a little more common in some Node.js stuff, but in this, I don't know. I thought it was pretty neat.